Hello again, I'm Justin.
And I'm Paige.
And we are
Being EVenturous.
Now before we start with the episode, I just want to remind everyone to click like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and we'll be very grateful for that.
Yeah.
So now, the purpose of this episode originally was to do a direct comparison for the Mach-E with regards to all-wheel drive versus rear-wheel drive. But unfortunately, due to the car being in popular demand, our test drive yesterday was canceled because the car was sold. And that was going to be the all-wheel drive version. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the rear-wheel drive version that we tested out when we were in Austin the previous weekend. So let's first start off, well, it was Maxwell Ford, whom apparently, according to them, is the #1 dealer in Texas.
Well, it looked like they must have been. There was a lot of cars on the lot.
Well, and I think that's how we found that out, because we were commenting on how many cars that they had in their lot compared to the very little amount of vehicles that we see in the Ford lots up here. Certainly the local Ford lot doesn't really have a lot of inventory at all, so totally makes sense. And even to that point, they were saying that they have sold a lot of Mach-E's, and even recently they had 9 in stock, and now they're down to their last 1.
Which they're not going to sell.
Right, because they want to keep it for people to test drive and then place the order for a new one themselves.
Right. And in our experience at the other dealer, the model that they had for the test drive or
their
mannequin model was not the best version of the car. And so at least in this case, they did have the premium version, which made it nicer to look at and to get that premium feel of the car.
Yeah, which is important, and we've talked about it in previous videos, that it's really, we really think all manufacturers should take that lead and really showcase really the best possible version. Granted, this is not the GT, which would be the better possible version, but at least it is the more premium interior. It is disappointing that it wasn't the all-wheel drive version, but at the end of the day, this was the vehicle that they didn't set out and design to be their demo model. It just happened to be the last one of that lot that they had, and they need to make sure that they have a demo model on hand. So, but with that, let's kind of jump right into what we tested out. So it was black exterior. Again, we've liked the exterior of the Mach-E, and even I think we pointed out on our trip to Austin, after we got done with our lunch, there was a Mach-E
in the wild
that was purchased from Maxwell Ford.
Yes.
So I thought it was kind of interesting. It was fate, if you will. So it was a black premium rear-wheel drive Mach-E, fantastic looking on the outside, of course. We went in there. We had booked this appointment. So we asked for the person we booked it with, and unfortunately they were unavailable. But they sent another salesperson to assist us, and he was very knowledgeable.
Oh yeah, he knew the car.
He knew his way around the car.
In and out, and was showing us all the different menus and how to change the drive styles. And
I think that is maybe a twofold benefit. Maybe one, Ford has done a good job at training people on the Mach-E, potentially.
Now,
yes. Well, or I think part of it is also it's up to the salesperson to be willing and wanting to, essentially thirsting for that knowledge in order to know that much about it. So that way, when they get customers inquiring about it, they're right there, they're knowledgeable, and they're going to be able to make the sale. Mm-hmm. So I think it might be twofold. I want to give Ford some credit here, but a lot of it does come upon the salesperson to take that initiative as well. Because I think we've seen other videos where people complained that the salesperson really didn't know about it, and I think there was even that one video where they self-professed not caring about it because it really wasn't going to give them much. And
well, we made a video about the salesperson not knowing anything about it.
Very true, very true. So we're one of those. So, yes. But anyway, so yes, it was great that they, the salesperson was knowledgeable. I was disappointed initially because, like the previous Ford, what we were hoping to get the car to take by ourselves.
Yeah.
And so I was kind of thrown back when I requested that. He kind of, basically blew it off, saying, why would he trust us with a $70,000 car? I think he was saying. And A, it wasn't a $70,000 car. B, my car is still there, so, and they have my driver's license, so if I took it for an extended period of time, I'd be committing a crime. So I really was taken aback by that excuse, and it really put me off on the wrong foot when it came to the test drive.
And I think especially now with the increased cases of the Delta variant in Williamson County and Travis County.
We were going into the hot spot.
Right.
Of the Delta
you know,
variant
we were really thinking that this would be an experience where we were by ourselves, just from a safety perspective.
But apparently the salesperson wanted to roll the dice.
Sure.
And we were just that inviting. So I think that's a good thing. But anyway, so, you know, I think, you know, there's many purposes that we wanted to do this test drive and get takeaways from. One was, again, the interior, because we're unimpressed with the original. And we saw at the Chicago Auto Show what the GT interior would look like. Although that is, I'm still questioning if that was the final interior, because it does look different than what's on the website. So I need to do a little bit of looking into that. But it was nice to check out the interior from a material perspective, and even to an extent from a build quality perspective. But for me, one of the other things I wanted to check out was really get a feel for the front seat cockpit style feeling, because that is something that I do want from a vehicle, and that I currently don't get with my RS. So I wanted to get a good sense of that while I had a chance. From an interior perspective, how was the back seats?
I thought they felt good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was comfortable.
Yeah.
I thought we had enough leg room. My daughter and I were both sitting back there, so we didn't have any complaints or concerns about it. She was really impressed with the ceiling, the roof.
Oh, lots of headroom.
Yeah, lots of headroom, and you know, this was her first experience being inside one.
Yep.
So she enjoyed it.
And I think for me, I mean, it drove well. I still would love to get a feel for an all-wheel drive version, just because I'm not a huge fan of rear-wheel drive cars, especially ones that have more power, more performance. So even this one, I mean, these ones are rated at 0 to 60 in I think 4.8 seconds, which is certainly near the rated acceleration of my RS, and I think we've already established, myself included, that I'm not getting that because I suck at shifting. But it is faster than what the EV6 is rated. Mm-hmm. So it gives you a good idea on what the performance is. And my big concern is, because I'm not a fan of rear-wheel drive, and certainly not used to rear-wheel drives, you know, having that additional performance, I don't want to step on the gas at the wrong time, especially, you know, having an instant response that you get from EVs. I just don't know if that's an experience that I want to have. So I want to see how it controls with an all-wheel drive version. I'm still not sure I'm sold on the control panel, the controls, you know.
The iPad?
Yeah, the giant iPad in the middle. I mean, one thing I do give Ford credit is they have two screens, because they do have the screen in front of the steering wheel.
Right.
Albeit not as full features from a software perspective that we've seen from other manufacturers, that we've seen firsthand from the Audi e-tron.
Right.
Had much better software on the screen. Even from the Sorento that we test drove in Chicago. But at least it's a secondary screen, so you're not forced to steer your head too much away from the road when you're trying to look at various controls. So it's really good to have. And it still has some physical controls, and I think that's important too for people who want a smoother transition to, you know, the futuristic what's the good word for the classic sleek look that the Teslas give you. So I think this is a good middle ground. Yes, minimalistic. Perfect.
I think the other plus is that they do offer the wireless Android Auto.
That is true, and I remember that was remember when we asked Kia, or no, it was the Hyundai, where they're saying that, you know, they didn't offer because of screen size. So at least this does play into that reasoning, because the Mach-E does have a larger screen,
right? And
the area that it does dedicate must, you know, since it is offering a larger physical space on the screen, maybe that does play into the reason for it. Maybe it is. Sure. Maybe it is a valid reason. although I'm not sure I accept it yet. But yeah, I mean, their software they do a really good job in the software. I mean, people can debate whether their software is better than Tesla and vice versa. I'm not going to go to that path. I don't have the experience with either to do that. And at the end of the day, as I said before, when it comes to UIs and interfaces, you get used to it. No matter what it is, you just get used to it. You just have to go through it and learn where everything is, and then it just becomes second nature. And I think Ford does a good job at leaving certain types of controls on the screen at all times, like the temperature controls, and of course the volume control is a physical control. So the stuff that you are most likely going to want more ready access to or more frequent access to, you don't have to dig through menus. So I think that's a nice touch.
Yeah. And I thought even with it being such a hot day, you know, there's always that concern with the roof being the way that it is in Texas, if you're going to feel that heat inside the car. And I did not notice it. Well,
that's an interesting point too, because I know I've seen other videos where people are debating whether they should add tinting to the panoramic roof, because it is beautiful to have. But there is that worry that in hot days, especially in states like Texas or Arizona, where you get a lot of sun, you just don't want that to add to any discomfort level, or even having you to be a little bit more aggressive from a temperature control perspective, which reduces the range a little bit. So it was good. It didn't I didn't really notice it at all. So I think that's definitely a good sign. One of the things that after our test drive was done, we can continue the conversation with the dealer, because what we wanted to do is get an idea of like delivery times and things like that, because they were mentioning that they were mentioning that they have a lot of GTs on order,
over 600
from that dealership alone, which is crazy to think, but it reinforces our belief that any city in Texas is gonna be behind EV. Austin certainly would be one of them.
Right.
So I think that played into it, but to have that many that have pre-ordered the higher performance version, I think speaks even more volume and shows the demand of not only the base product, but people who want that much more sportier version of it. So I think that's great. But then the challenge with that is now you were talking earlier this weekend about chip shortages.
Yes. So Ford recently announced that there has been a delay with the chip shortage, and because of that, they're delaying any summer orders by at least 6 weeks.
Yeah.
But as a result, they're incentivizing these people by giving them 250 extra kilowatt hours to kind of say, I'm sorry,
Which is good.
Yeah.
Because they were only giving people 250 kilowatt hours, so you're getting double the amount. That's worth the 6-week delay. And that is interesting timing, because when we were talking to the salesperson, they were also mentioning that it seemed like Ford was actually getting a handle on the chip shortage situation, and because they have challenges themselves, because they have multiple EVs that they're trying to split the chips from, right? They have the Mach-E, they have the Lightning, and I'm sure there's other ones coming out of the pipe. So it's a challenge for all manufacturers, and for them specifically. So because they were saying that if we had decided to order the Mach-E now, for example, that it would most likely be a December-January timeframe. Right. Which surprised me, because as everyone recalls, when I was sending Paige the screenshots of what an order would look like, it was showing 28 to 29 weeks. Yeah. So having them saying now, if we order today, today's August 15th, but let's say August 7th or August 8th, whatever day it was, getting something in December, January, that's a shorter time frame. Yeah. So I think, and even if you add the 6 weeks, worst case, it still puts it in the January, February timeframe. That's still a really nice turnaround, especially if it is the car that you, and especially the version of the car that you really want. I think that's not too much of a waiting period to have to do, and getting that extra 250 kilowatt hours certainly doesn't hurt.
But one interesting thing was Well, a couple. So as soon as we got out of the car, there was another couple with the original guy that we had booked the appointment with,
That's right, yep.
ready to jump in the car. And it was, oh, what did you think of it? Did you like the car? You know, they were really excited about it. And so it's nice to see somebody else live that was excited. I wish we had business cards that we could have handed out at that time.
Yep.
Yeah, we need to definitely get on that. But to tell them, hey, you know, come and join our e-venture and see what we're finding out there. But also that I lost my train of thought.
Wow. Well, I think what you were going to say is that they were mentioning that a previous owner...
That is what, yes, that's what I was going to say. Somebody had recently brought in a Mach-E that they had purchased prior and were trading it in for a truck. So, two things with that. I mean, unfortunately, they were trading in an EV car for an ICE vehicle for a truck. But the other thing is now that car won't be eligible to the next buyer to get the discount, to get the $7,500.
The rebate.
Yeah, that sucks.
It is, but I think it goes back to, you know, it's great to make the decision to go down the EV path. Some people are not necessarily ready to go down the EV path. We don't know the reasons why they brought it back.
That is true.
Right? It could be a range issue. It could just be they decided that a car wasn't right for them and they wanted to go for a truck. Maybe other circumstances changed and it dictated that they need a truck versus a car. We will never know. But I think it's a good reminder that when you're going down this path, you really want to make sure that you understand yourself as to what you're looking for out of the vehicle, and even what type of vehicle. You know, what is the situation that vehicle will live in, type thing, and how it will be used, because I think that all comes into play and should be carefully considered. And at the end of the day, you need to make sure that you're picking the vehicle that is right for you and right for your needs.
Right.
And so it happens. But the good thing is, I mean, on the plus side, I imagine they probably got most of what they paid for it back because of the increased
the demand
for used vehicles.
Right.
So I'm sure the dealer took care of them. So that's good. But to Paige's point, you know, because it is now used, the federal tax credits no longer apply. So that is unfortunate. And it'd be interesting to see if they had it long enough for them to even get the tax credits.
Oh, true.
But we're going to leave that question with regards to tax credits to another video. Is there anything else we want to talk about this before we wrap up?
I think we're good.
Yeah, I think we're still going to try and find an all-wheel drive version so we can try that out. The GT is or GT Performance, whichever one, is still something that I am strongly considering. You know, I am looking forward to checking out the Hyundai Ioniq 5, of course, when it becomes available, since I have it on pre-order. But the Mach-E is still in the realm, still in the picture. Again, I really like, you know, Ford. They deliver on the build quality. Yes, it's not, you know, that luxury level interior that the Audi was, but it certainly was comparable, if not a little bit higher than, say, the ID4 that we test drove. It was, you know, comparable to the Nero. Nero had a nice interior.
You did.
So it's still, you know, very much a great vehicle, and something that we're going to still consider. So I guess that is it for today.
Thank you for being EVenturous with us.
We appreciate it.
We'll see you next time.
And click like, subscribe, click the notification, tell all your friends, and we'll see you next time. Take care.